Today, we're going to talk about testing your market, and it's important that you not wait until you have built out all of your tech if you're a tech founder, or built a whole big run of your CPG if you do consumer packaged goods. Test the market first before you do all of that because you're going to save yourself a lot of time, money, and heartache if you do it this way first. The inclination is for founders to do it the opposite way. They want to build the great big thing and they just sort of assume that because they are going to fall in love with their own product or because they've talked about it with a bunch of friends and family members and even people that they meet at conferences. That's not the same as testing the market. So you want to make sure that you do this before you invest your money and your time and your stress and your energy, all of that. You want to make sure that you're getting product market fit. Now, a little caveat is that you can't get true product market fit until you've actually launched the thing, but you can get strong evidence that you're going to have product market fit beforehand. And that's what we're talking about right here and now. In the idea phase video that I recorded, I did talk about how at this stage, at the idea stage, and even at the testing stage, you don't even have to have a name of the product, let alone the business, because oftentimes those are two different things. You don't have to have a name. However, if you have a name or two in mind, test it while you're at it. And this might be a really good time to test it while you're testing the actual product itself or a prototype of the product. Okay, let's keep going. And really quickly, though, about a name. Let me just tell you about the name of my company, Twerk. It is polarizing. It's a polarizing name because people either love the name of our company, love, 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 or they completely detest it. You do not have to have such a polarizing name, of course. Um, but not everybody is going to be in love with your business name. That is okay. There is nothing wrong with that. There's a little saying, if you're made for everybody, you're made for nobody. And that's kind of true. So it's not about whether everybody loves the name of your product or of your company. It's whether it seems like your target audience and that the majority of your target audience that they kind of resonate with the name. It can't repel them. If it was flipped with my company and 90% of the people who were my target audience hated my company name or my brand name, I would change it. But that's not the way it is. It's the other way, and that's just fine. You're not for everybody, not everybody's for you. That's actually a good thing. Okay, so studies demonstrate that people don't know what they want. So the wrong way to go about testing the market to get your product market fit is to survey people to ask them what they want, like open-endedly. There was this one case study where you had people with clipboards hanging out outside of grocery stores, and they were trying to figure out what products they could bring into the grocery store that people would buy to keep them coming back or that they'd be excited about. People gave all kinds of examples, and ones that seemed to cluster together, like, oh, okay, we got a few that said the same thing in product A and product B. The grocery store delivered and started carrying those products, and nobody bought them. Nobody bought them. So people are notoriously bad at knowing what they want for themselves. So that's not how you test out the market. I'm going to give you a couple ideas that actually work to test out whether you have product market fit ahead of time. So you can survey people, but just as a little caveat, that shouldn't be open-ended either. I'm a little bit lucky because I, when I was an undergrad a million years ago, I loved data analysis. And so I knew how to put together a decent survey, and I tend to get a fairly good response rate on my surveys. But this does not have to be a big complicated issue. You need to have your questions be super, super pointed. So they need to be really, really specific and not akin to kind of like, what do you want? You need to guide them as to what you are going to be providing and then see how they react to it. This is not the end all be all, by the way. Surveys shouldn't be the beginning and the end of your PMF story. It's one tool in your toolbox to show investors, angels, family and friends that you have something there. But don't stop there. So you can start with a Google form. It doesn't have to be complicated. Those are super easy to put together. And when you start with a Google form, you want to put demographics first. So if you're going to be collecting demographics, you want to do that at the beginning because statistically speaking, people are more likely to answer these questions if they come at the beginning of a survey as opposed to the middle or the end of a survey. And demographics are going to matter to some degree for whatever product you are building in all likelihood. That could be anything. It could be where they're from. It could be what age range they fall into. It could be their, gender or sex. It could be, sexuality. It depends on the product that you're building. And so you only want to ask about demographics that are relevant. You don't want to add too many demographics that don't matter because you'll get drop off. Okay. So for twerk, what we did is age really matters to us because we are targeting certain age range. So I would ask people what age cluster they fall into. I had under 18, and if they answered that, because I can't control, who gets a hold of this link and who's answering this survey. And if they're under 18, I didn't even want to bother calling them in for to be a focus group participant because I didn't want to deal with minors. There's extra liability there. I didn't want to deal with it, but it's great to filter on that. I think I had 18 through 24, 25 through 37 or something like I can't remember. But anyway, you want to make sure that your age ranges make sense if you're doing that. And sometimes the non-applicable is going to matter. So even when it comes to sexuality, some people might just really not want to answer. And rather than have them drop off, if you can still get some good information without getting the demographic, if it would still be useful for you, then you don't want them to drop off. So you want to be able to have that non-applicable option for them. That's just something to sort of think about. Okay. Um, I did this, I got survey responses in a very uh, clever way that I really took from the book Sprint, which I'm referencing right down here. In the idea phase video that I did, I recommended this book. I do not have any sort of affiliation with Jake Knapp. I don't have any affiliation with the book or with their website in any sort of way. I just really think this book was super, super brilliant. I'm highly, highly recommending it to you. I got the audio version, listened to it 2 times, and then I got the hardback version so I could take notes in the margins. Unbelievably useful. So, what I did, because, and first of all, you might think, well, why are you doing, out of all the things you could do for product market fit, why are you doing a survey? It was going to be a quick, painless way for me to get some sort of validation that the problem that I was having, which was pivoting from one career to another career using the current tools that exist, that it wasn't just me, that it wasn't just me who thought that the current tools sucked so badly. Now, I think it's pretty obvious that they suck, but that's, I could be so biased and people might not agree with me. So before you build it, you want to know that it's a problem that people actually have. It's quick. It's quicker than a focus group. It's the quickest thing that you can do to get kind of a window to validation. So I called a survey company because I didn't know how to do this on the cheap and to talk to them and they wanted to onboard me and all this other stuff. And then it came time for the quote. And they quoted me, and I'm not kidding, $22,000. 22 effing thousand dollars to get a survey and like, oh, it'll be statistically significant and all this other shit. Okay, fine. I don't need this to be a high-end, statistically significant, all this other stuff survey. I'm not going to publish this in some sort of journal. I just need a window into validation. I just need a window into the idea that I have some semblance of product market fit. So I declined. And after I read Sprint, what I did was I went on Craigslist and I went to the geographical area that I was interested in surveying. At that point, I was staying at an Airbnb for 3 months. It's Silicon Valley. So I surveyed those people and I opened up a jobs, I guess, listing, and I posted a job under the etc. miscellaneous jobs. I put together a very quick, short post. And I said something like, "Hey, do you think that searching for jobs like could be better? Or are you looking for a job or do you want a better way?" Or something like that. And then I said, click this link to take a quick survey if you're interested in potentially being in a focus group. So I was not guaranteeing that they would be in a focus group. I said, assuming that I get more than 100 responses to this survey, I will pick up to 1 dozen people to be in a focus group. And if you are selected, then I will pay you $100 for 1 hour of your time to show you our app, right? So I'm not making any promises. People self-selected, clicked on the link, and then they took the survey and I got a whole bunch of information that I needed. Just so you know, with Google surveys, with the forms, you need to test the link before you put it on something like Craigslist because you have to go over to a certain tab and then actually click publish, or you have to make sure that you turn a toggle on or off that allows people from outside of your organization to respond, that anybody can respond. That's very important. Otherwise, it's going to be essentially a broken link for these people. You don't want that. So just make sure that you test it and make sure you test it in an incognito window. Have your buddies test it too if you want. That's fine. All right. What I did toward the end of that survey is I said, if you are interested in being a part of our beta, if you're interested in being on our beta waitlist, leave your email address here. So the email address was just for getting on the waitlist for our beta because I'm building a tech company. Then after that, my very last question was, if you're interested in potentially being selected, again, the word potentially, for one of our focus groups, leave your name because I'm going to need to know who I'm contacting. I'm not just going to email some random person and not know their name. So email your name so that we know who to write the check out to, even though I didn't write checks. That's what I did. You'll get people who don't know how to answer this correctly. You'll get people who, under the email part, they'll say, yes, please. Oh well. Oh well, that's gonna happen. You will get some crazy people who think that you're up to no good and they'll yell at you in all caps for some reason, which doesn't make sense. I had one person say, I don't, but he answered all the questions and seemed to be fairly honest. And at the very end, he's like, I don't even believe that you have a bank account. Okay, buddy. Oh, sorry that you don't believe. What am I going to do? Like, prove it to you? I don't know you. Whatever. It was really strange. So, don't worry about that. If you get a crazy person or somebody who seems like they're not making any sense, eliminate them from your pool because even if they answered all the questions, it might not, it might be just a little bit too far out and you really can't rely on that response. But these are just little things to help you get kind of an accurate idea of what's going on. And even if somebody doesn't put in their email address like they should, or they don't put in a name like they should, unless they're again showing you that they're absolutely nuts, you can count on the other information for your statistical data and to see whether your idea is valid. And what's cool about this method is that first of all, I was being super honest. I wasn't tricking anybody. I have several times over, I've run like I think 5 focus groups now. I always had 5 people in each focus group. So if I'm right, it's like 20 or 25 people, depending on if I did 4 or 5 focus groups. I honestly can't remember. I'm still continuing. I'll always be doing focus groups as I iterate because I want to make sure that we're on the same line with our people. And so I'm not being gross about it. I'm being perfectly ethical. I'm not promising anybody anything. And the people whom I did choose, I would run through my prototype, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But I would pay them for the time. They got $100 for no more than an hour. A lot of times it was less than an hour. So there's nothing wrong with doing this. And then you have a wait list. And when you have a wait list, you can show your friends and family or potential outside individual investors or even angels. You can say, hey, we've got people who really, really want what we're doing because they said they wanted it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's a way for you to also keep in touch with your people and letting them know what your progress is all about. Keep those people warm. Some people, when you email them from your list, they will not remember that they signed up for your thing and they might go aggro on you. They might, again, email you back in all caps, take me off your spam list. They just don't remember that they signed up. So sometimes what I'll do is at the end of my emails, I'll say, if you don't remember signing up for this list, that's fine. Just let me know. I'll take you off. Bada bing, bada boom. Yes, they can click the unsubscribe button. I don't mind doing that too, but I like to make it a little bit more personal so that people, even if they're not happy about being on the list or they forgot that they signed themselves up, it doesn't ruin that future relationship. So you're not always going to preserve every relationship, but that's what I do. You can always, if you don't want to go through that though, if you don't want to have that personal touch, or let's say you have way too many people on a wait list and you're like, I don't have the energy to unsubscribe people manually myself, you can just tell them to unsubscribe. It's fine. If you do it super nice, it's going to be fine. All right, what works far, far better than an open-ended or a loose survey is to show a prototype to people and to watch how they react in real time. So a survey is a jumping off point. A survey is a way to collect email addresses. A survey is a way to see whether people are excited about what you're doing, yes or no. And a survey is a way to get a pool of potential people to get in your focus groups. And the focus groups are where, honestly, the magic absolutely happens. It's amazing. And I will show you how to do these focus groups. I'm going to create two new videos. One is going to be for founders of CPG, consumer packaged goods. There's a way for you to do this, and how tech founders would do it is completely different. So I'm going to do one video for each. Watch the video that applies to you and whatever it is that you're creating. And in the meantime, order this stinking book. I will link to it. It is so incredibly good. I can't say enough about this book. There are several books that I feel this way about, and Sprint is, as far as the order of operations of which books you get, this is the first book that you should get. And I'll recommend some other books down the line that you have to get. All right. So, with that being said, I will see you in the next one, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Feel free to send me any questions. I'll answer them as soon as I can. Thanks.